from?
Really know what to do with the terrible, blood-soaked, saturated history of the human past. I don't know. And I don't think anybody knows. I mean, what you try to do in your own life, as far as I can tell, is to conduct yourself in a manner that makes such things much more unlikely.
I totally agree.
We're all saddled with the problem of the catastrophes that got us here, aren't we?
Yeah, but this one was commanded by God. That's the problem.
Yeah,
That's
well,
what differentiates it from anything else, is that this one, it's God
do you
saying,
think that
go
there's
and
ever
do this
such a thing?
atrocity.
Do you think that there's ever such a thing as a righteous war?
I'm skeptical. I'm not sure. It would probably be situational.
Well, right. Fair enough. I mean,
Perfect. Yeah. Wait a second. Look at this. Okay, this is kind of funny. So he's willing to grant the concept of situational context in war. And by the way, the very fact that he admits that, what are some things that happen in war that we don't intend? What are some things, Eric? What are some things, Thaddeus, that happen in war that we don't intend to, but sadly it happens?
Killing of an innocent.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Right. There's now we've changed it to be a little bit more desensitized. We call it collateral. But yes, the death of innocents, right, and the death of children. And so the very fact that this person accepts the possibility situationally of a righteous war also accepts the fact that something can be considered a righteous war despite some of the consequences that might come from it. Almost necessarily, because war is quite messy and because no human military has perfect aim, right? And so as a result, he just implicitly accepted situational context in his ethics, but will not allow or give charitably the same to the scripture. How ironic. How ironic, dude. That is wild. That is wild.
Hey, that was very funny, right? So he says, do you believe war is ever justified? He says, I don't know. It would depend on the context. It would depend on the situation, which is actually a yes, even though he wants to say no, right?
It literally is. Like, it's bonkers. That is actually bonkers to me. Atheists are so funny. Holy moly.
Well, that's just it, right? Because if it's justified, that is required. The context of it's required. If you've got someone going around, a country going around just absolutely annihilating innocent people for no apparent reason, just taking part of their population into gulags or into camps and just executing them en masse, and you say, no, we need to go stop this. Yes, that's a justified war. In fact, I know that, David, as you did not too long ago on John's channel,
that's sure did.
Sci-Fi, his channel, about what a justified war is. What is just war?
Yep.
And part of that is to try to, it's not guaranteed, try to reduce innocent casualties. Try to reduce it. Yeah. That's part of the goal. You don't just start going out there and do things that are purposeful in order to annihilate people. You try to remove the innocent, but it's always going to happen. You always look at any sort of war throughout history. Innocent people always die as a part of that process. Is horrendous, but sometimes evil has to be stopped.
Yes. Yeah, it does. Like, that's it. That's it. Sadly, we're in the kind of world where we just have to like balance, we have to do just war calculations to see, is this worth the possible, and when we say possible, we mean almost certain, by the way, almost certain inclusion of innocent civilian casualties and generalized collateral. So it sucks, okay? But that's also the kind of world we're in. And so if you're saying, oh, the kind of world we're in is imperfect, but we have to kind of work with our imperfections, the imperfections of us and other humans. Fun fact, God is working with the imperfections of humans in the Old Testament and the New Testament, okay? So if you've just admitted the imperfections of humanity and a need to kind of acquiesce to their current state and trying to find the best option, good job. You've just understood the general Christian argument for war in the Old Testament.